Okay, time for Tyranny. Let's see how it goes. I've wanted to play this game for a while because the bad guys have won in a role-playing game, and I thought that was unique, and that you are pretty much a person dispensing justice and kind of consolidating these conquered lands. Let's get to it. Okay. New game. We'll play on normal just because we have no idea what's going on. I have not read the manual. This is completely fucking blind. So if you're looking for something serious, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there. You know, I might do a serious run of this game in the future, but this is just me checking it out. This is thanks to Malcav Black, who wanted me to see what Tyranny was like, see if it was worth buying maybe, or just what a first person's, playthrough's like. So normal difficulty requires strategy and efficiency, but forgives a few mistakes in combat. Companion AI is enabled. The path of the damned difficulty. Enemies receive a bonus to most stats, have the most efficient AI, and will very frequently use abilities. Party members take more wounds during combat and when being knocked out. This difficulty level can only be chosen when starting a new game. Okay, and then there's Trial of Iron, only one slave slot allowed. Gets deleted, and there's Expert Mode. Disables helper features in the game. This is kind of like eliminates the hand-holding. So let's see what the character creation's like. Let's dig into some combat. See what the social system's like. I'm always excited to see how they make conversation interesting.
Years,
Okay, 400 years.
the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will.
I like it.
Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus. The voices of Nerat, spy master and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die. Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored. Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tunon, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tunon brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands. How could we have known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
Well, that sounds good. I sound important. Maybe. I don't know, those other three guys sounded really badass. Alright, so this is the new character creation process. We go from appearance to history to our banner, our name, our attributes, skills, and conquest. That sounds interesting. We'll play a dude. Gotta be black. Whoa. We'll just play middle of the road, I guess. That'll be good. Alright, so there's no race, it looks like, so far. Sure. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then let's do male aggressive. Can I hear it?
Quiet down. I'm injured, tired. Let's rest.
Alright, turned it up slightly. Hopefully you can hear that without, blasting out your stuff. Usually I'm louder than the game by a lot, so... we can have a female voice as a male? That's interesting. How about male sneaky?
See that? It's a battle.
Huh, don't really like that.
You learn something every day. This will be fun.
God. My wounds are slowing me down. I need rest.
Octopus. Looks good. That's some metallic ink, too. Holy shit. Sure, that'll be good. Let's move on, right, to the more important stuff. How did you join Kairos' army? So this is our history. Okay. I'm not going to read over all these, but I'll pick out the one that sounds fun to me. War Mage. Few have the combination of wits and courage to be accomplished casters and warriors, and those cursed with the combination of such talents are invariably pulled with their mundane lives and assigned to the armies of the Archons. Your earliest memories are a painful slog of training, study, lecture, and exhaustion, all the elements of being groomed for battle. You know better than to ask what became of your family, nor to question the missives allegedly penned by their hand that are part of your earliest lessons in reading. When you reached adulthood, Tunon, the Adjudicator, came to the barracks and laid claim to your life, seeing you as too valuable for the crucible of battle. The Archon of Justice deemed your life better spent dedicated to the art of punitive legal remedies. Though you had much to learn in the matters of civil discourse, none could deny your bright future as Tunon's next great enforcer. That's cool. It highlights this. We can right-click to learn more. Is the Adjudicator. Is the Tunon the Adjudicator is the Archon of Justice, ruler of the conquered realms, and arbiter of disputes. Oldest of the Archons, sent to conquer the Tears, Tunon speaks of Kairos' authority. His true appearance remains hidden behind an iron mask, the face of judgment. Huh. Well, there's not really like a regular like mage, so I mean, I guess the Guild Apprentice might be one, looking to secure a better future. Your parents struck a bargain with the Seven Tree Guild, a small magical order willing to teach you letters, numbers, and magic. Let's do War Mage. It sounds way better. And then our primary expertise, let's do atrophy spells, shock spells. I guess this is our combat style, so let's go with frost. Why not? We have learned Frozen Grasp. Envelop a target in harsh winter cold, leaving them frozen for a time. Okay, that sounds good. And then what? Do we choose 2? Touch of Atrophy just debuffs them. This deals some damage and can freeze them. I like that. Let's do that. Frost spells. We get some skills here like Control Frost, Magic Staff, Dodge, and Lore. Lore is used to determine a character's ability to decipher information. Okay. Our secondary expertise should probably be something like... They're going to kind of help us outside of magic, I'm guessing. Or we could just choose more spells. Fill the target with Search of Greatness, so that buffs people. Let's do Javelin, why not? Heart Shot, and Hobble. Let's do Hobble. Being able to control the battlefield sounds pretty good. Okay, so these are our starting abilities. Deals a little bit of damage versus their dodge. They're hobbled for 30 seconds. Doesn't really explain what Hobble does. But I'm guessing it just slows them down. Okay. Character colors. Gotta go with all black. That'll be good. Cool. And maybe we'll do this. There we go. Cross sword sounds good. Why not? Fits pretty well. War Mage. Okay, so here's your basic attributes and what they represent. Might, finesse, quickness, vitality, wits, and resolve. Now it looks like they put a dot next to them to show that they're recommended because of our training. And frost, javelin. Might leads to more powerful attacks and stronger abilities, as well as increasing the endurance defense. Finesse is used to determine the accuracy of all attacks, as well as increasing a worn armor's chance to reduce a hit type. Critical to a hit or a hit to a graze. That sounds cool. I like that armor can convert hits to different effects. Armor should be in control of defense. Quickness. Determines how often a character can use their abilities, reducing cooldown durations. Vitality determines the physical health of a person. The strength of personality. Really? Increases the will defense. Wits. Describes a character's mental acuity, their ability to observe their environment and pick up on clues. Wits is used to increase spell strength as well as increase the magic defense. And Resolve determines a character's ability to endure physical and mental challenges. Resolve is a primary attribute used to derive the endurance, will, and magic defenses. Whoa. It also increases the durations of afflictions applied by the character. So, yeah, or debuffs. It's like Frozen, maybe. Okay, so I don't know how good this will be, but I'll put, usually most games want you to put all your points into one, so I'll do that, and Yeah, I guess we'll go evenly spread. Let's go against common convention, right? See if the game rewards us or not. Okay. We get 20 points, and we have many different skills here, it looks like. Magic Staff. Let's go... So the Magic Staff, higher values lead to more accurate attacks, increasing the chance of critical strikes, both by Magic Stat skill and the Magic skill being used by the equipped staff. There's support skills then, such as Athletics, ability to traverse difficult terrain, execute complicated moves. There's Dodge, which defends against everything, it looks like. Lore determines a character's ability to decipher information and put together clues from fragments of information. It's critical for magic users who wish to use new runes to power their spells. Lore is also used in dialogue to determine what you know about the history of the world, or to impress others with your intelligence. Parry, and Subterfuge. Well, and then what about Control Frost? To evoke control spells, to use the Sigil of Frost. Chance of hits and crits. Huh. I guess that's versus like their own defenses. Sure, we'll put some points into that at the least. Put some points into thrown weapon. Make sure that's good. And we'll put some points into dodge. I have no idea how good any of this really is. Subterfuge. Ability to move unseen and detect and manipulate hidden traps and devices to open and lock chests and doors. It is also used in dialogue. So a lot of these things are, what I'm seeing here is having dual uses for their skills. So let's lower this down here, and I would love to have some subterfuge. There we go. Good. What do you want to do? How do you want to continue? Conquest or a quick start? Selecting the Conquest option will allow you to play through Kairos' conquest of the Tiers, choosing how your character was involved in the invasion. This gives you the most control over the starting state of the game and how other factions will react to your character. Sure, since we know nothing about the Kairos' conquest, let's dig in.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tiers, our home. The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. Two armies, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment, the mountainous border that we Tiersmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tiers sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors, until it's too late.
During the conquest, you will decide your character's actions during Kairos' invasion of the Tiers, shaping the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how other major factions of the Tiers respond to you. Your decisions matter. Choose wisely. 428 TR, Year 1 of Kairos' conquest. The bastard city stood on the northern border between Kairos' empire and the Tiers. Built upon a natural arbor at the crossroads between realms, the city was a nexus of commerce. To the Tiers, it was the center of all wealth. To a northerner, it was little more than a backwater trading post. Its symbolic status as a gateway to the continent made it a natural first target in Kairos' military conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier in Kairos' armies. Taking the city would send a message to the rest of the Tiers. Kairos' will is insurmountable. So, select a token. The Gates of Judgment. In the first major engagement of the war, Kairos' armies crossed the mountains and established a foothold, or both armies sent their forces to prepare the way. They infiltrate the Tiers. Let's do that. History would remember the Gates of Judgment as the first battle of the conquest, but the real combat unfolded with advanced units of both armies preparing for the coming war. The Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus each had a plan to infiltrate the capital city. Which army did you join? Well, I like the Disfavored, personally. You lent your skills to the elite Disfavored scouts to capture a border garrison. Graven Ash insisted that an early victory in the offensive would boost the morale of his troops and diminish the haughty overconfidence of the Southerners. The Oathbound scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated on an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinions on the strategy. When the clashing of the swords and spears fell to silence, followed by the cheering of disfavored scouts, you were the least surprised. Interesting. Containing the fire, the bastard city's resident fire mages threatened the first leg of the conquest. Kairos' forces put a stop to their unchecked power. Or, inside agent, you found an ally within the city to prepare the way for the approaching armies. Let's do containing the fire. The fiercest opponents in the bastard city were the mages of the School of the Wild Wrath. Too barbaric to use their power responsibly, the unbridled practitioners needed to be stopped. How did you trick the hot-tempered mages into their own undoing? Lure them into a disfavored ambush, or a meeting with the voices of Nerat. Let's choose this one, since we chose the other one last time. You tricked the guild elders into meeting with the voices of Nerat, Archon of Secrets. The Archon was notorious for his cruel and mysterious interrogation techniques. The mages were never seen again. There were few who could describe the horrors the Archon of Secrets visited upon his enemies during the conquest. Whether the elder mages knew little of the Archon's reputation, or met with him out of curiosity, didn't matter. Once the flap of the Archon's tent closed, none of them were heard from again, save for a strangled cry of alarm that ended just as swiftly. Leaderless, the School of the Wild Wrath fell into disorder, and their remaining members were slain by the disfavored, or conscripted into the Scarlet Chorus. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the bastard city ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of the bastard city? Duel, incite a riot, or spread fear through assassination? I say we incited a riot. This gives us an ability, Searing Palm. Gather a heated energy in your hands and release it into a foe. The target ignites in flames, burning over time. It's Mage Fire. This one would give us Warrior's Respite. 50% damage for 12 seconds. 15% health every 3 seconds for 12. Wow, that's really good. Stand your ground in the face of defeat. You will generate health rapidly, but your damage is significantly... Oh, our damage is significantly reduced. Okay. I said health, self. Okay. Keeping to the shadows, you eliminated the leaders of the bastard city, one by one. So once per encounter, on ourself, we have 100% graze deflection, negative 100 accuracy, plus 200 dodge, and plus 200 parry. Create a cloud of obscuring shadows and dust. For a short duration, enemies that use physical attacks against you have a significantly increased chance to miss. During this time, your attacks will also be less effective. Which means I have magic, so that's pretty cool. I like the flavor of inciting a riot. I really do. Let's do it. Didn't take much to convince the bastard city's downtrodden that Kairos was the superior power. You armed them with weapons and knowledge of a signal you would raise when the time was right. As the armies appeared outside the walls, you ignited the spark that fanned their anger into a full-scale riot. The chaos they spread in Kairos' name weakened the city to such an extent that its inevitable fall was but a formality. And that is that part of the conquest, I guess. The bastard city settled into a new state of normalcy, with every tower displaying Kairos' banner. Your name was whispered alongside rumors of a decorated career to come. The armies divided into 2 fronts and migrated south. Timon sent word that you were to join the next frontier of Kairos' conquest, either as judge and overseer of the settlement of Lethian's Crossing, or as a war advisor with the armies advancing into the realm of Apex. You may choose only one of these locations. Apex, the troops of the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of their valley, biding their time as the neighbors in the bastard tier fell. In the second year of war, a joint force of the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the tier's central valley, or Lethian's Crossing Deposits of iron made the settlement of Lethian's Crossing a strategic war asset. Kairos sent the forge-bound smith mages of exceptional skill to establish a flow of weaponry. Tunon the Adjudicator sent one of his Fatebinders to ensure the enforcement of Kairos' law. Let's take Lethian's Crossing. Gotta have smith mages, man. Year 2 of Kairos' rule. This is what happened. This is pretty cool. Or you can play at random choices, I guess, and like have everything like, oh man, I have no idea. Years ago, Lethian the Bold founded a small merchant town at the intersection of ancient old walls. A pact between the settlers and a mercenary company meant that caravans were able to travel without fear of bandits or bane, and the town thrived in modest insignificance. Lethian's Crossing drew Kairos' attention for the iron deposits in the surrounding hills. With the region under Kairos' control, the northern smith mages could set up workshops to refine ore and arm the disfavored with the finest weapons in the known world. The Archon of Secrets dismantled the mercenary support with a generous bribe, taking the Crossing in a bloodless victory. Tunon dispatched you to travel alongside Kairos' forces and bring order to the region. So what did we do? The iron must flow. You found a clever solution to improve production of iron weapons and armor. The Cult of Siren. The Archon of Song's power ensnared the mind of a disfavored soldier. Let's make the weapons flow. Kairos' smith mages worked day and night to create weapons. No one faulted their dedication, yet production was low. The plans that came to light proved divisive to the disfavored, and Scarlet Chorus. On one hand, any additional manpower was needed for fighters, not forges. On the other hand, the celebrated weaponry of Kairos' armies needed to be fiercely guarded. Conscript a tribe of the Beastmen, or draw from the Scarlet Chorus recruits. Let's conscript a tribe of the Beastmen. You're conscripted help from a local tribe of Beastmen. Their strength would more than offset their disobedience. The disfavored protested that the savages have access to the secrets of iron, but their voices were few compared to the support of the Scarlet Chorus. The Scarlet Chorus were overjoyed to learn of the Beastmen conscription, and graciously lent their support to your cause. The local Beastmen were subdued and yoked to iron-bearing wagons, where their boundless strength and tirelessness proved critical to the smith mages. The disfavored grew agitated about exposing the secret of iron to savages. You attempted to allay their concerns, but your words fell flat before a stubborn, uncompromising audience. They really don't like me, and I chose them in the beginning. So now we have Pick of the Armory. As the forges improved production, both armies demanded preferential treatment, or a Guardian's Due. Tensions rose as disfavored and Scarlet Chorus soldiers rubbed elbows with mercenaries hired to guard the forges. Let's go with the preferential Pick of the Armory. Since you aided the production of weapons, commanders of both armies lobbied for additional arms. They offered all manner of bribes to be next in line for a fitting session with the masters of the forge. How did you sate the lust for iron? Choose the disfavored, choose the Scarlet Chorus, or remain neutral. You let the disfavored have the iron, keeping the best tools in the hands of the elite. The Scarlet Chorus saw the slight as an obvious display of preferential treatment. Let's have them both be pissed off at me. Passing out iron to even the hardiest Scarlet Chorus gang boss would have been a waste of resources. Most of them couldn't wield arms more complicated than a pitchfork, and their chances of surviving a fortnight were suspect. The disfavored, by contrast, knew how to use and respect a capable weapon to its greatest potential. Perhaps more importantly, the disfavored remembered their friends when a time of need arises, and their loyalty runs as deep as any vein of iron ore. Who controlled the crossing? Tragedy struck when a mercenary hired by the voices of Narat injured a forge-bound artisan, leaving him unable to practice his craft. Tunon ordered the mercenaries to leave the city in the hands of Kairos' more responsible servants. Only a token garrison could be left behind while the armies returned to the front. As the disfavored and Scarlet Chorus showed increasing tension and hostility toward each other, Tunon decreed it best that only one force control the crossing. Who controlled the crossing? Well, we just pissed off the Scarlet Chorus, but I think we pissed off the disfavored a little more. So let's go ahead and grant them control. The disfavored placed a modest garrison in the settlement of Lethian's Crossing. Though the force was larger than might be needed to police the small settlement, protecting the forge-bound ironsmiths became the true agenda of the defense force, as these magical craftsmen kept the disfavored invasion force suited in iron. Relieved at the departure of the Scarlet Chorus, the citizens of Lethian's Crossing felt they got the least of two burdens. You received word from Gravenet Ash thanking you for your decision. The forge-bound and their weaponry could not be entrusted to the voices of Nerat. With the mercenaries expelled and Lethian's Crossing under new leadership, Kairos' forces congratulated themselves on bringing order to the settlement and guaranteeing a productive flow of resources. Over the course of this diversion, the army front advanced further into the tiers. Your skills were needed in the realm of Azure, Stalwart, or the Vellum Citadel. You may choose only one of these locations. I say Azure. Kairos dispatched the Archon of Stone to subjugate the nation of Azure. Stalwart is, with its easily defended position and rich military tradition, the realm of Stalwart was the most formidable realm in the tiers. Or the Vellum Citadel. Kairos' conquering gaze fell upon the Vellum Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, its secrets. Well, I like the sound of that. Let's go to the Vellum Citadel. Year 3 of Kairos' conquest. The Vellum Citadel was an archive and library of massive scale. Its inhabitants were known as the School of Ink and Quill, a circle of mages that centuries ago carved out their own mountainous refuge on lands unsettled by the other major realms. Legend said that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. The Overlord's spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time was ripe to send a detachment to the great library fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kairos. Our choices are the Song of Ensnarement. Siren's song ensnared some stealthy sages. Or Chain of Command, a peaceful surrender turned bloody. Let's do Chain of Command. A detachment of Kairos' army marched on the Vellum Citadel, expecting an orderly surrender. As they neared the main gates, a blast of arcane energy struck the commanders dead. Suddenly, the highest-ranking officer alive, Kairos' forces looked to you for the next steps. The call weighed on your mind, as it had an immediate influence on soldiers' losses. Order the Scarlet Chorus to attack. You ordered the expendable Scarlet Chorus to attack, commanding the disorderly mob forward to give the elite disfavored a chance to withdraw. Though a costly maneuver in terms of lives lost, this assured the survival of the most capable and effective soldiers. Or we could choose these guys and make the disfavored pissed at us. You ordered the disfavored to advance their shield wall, knowing that a handful of Kairos' elite soldiers could hold off the attack until the Scarlet Chorus retreated. You knew the disfavored would despise you for any losses at the Scarlet Chorus's expense, but that was a small price to pay for saving lives. No, we gotta do it the other way around. Ever itching for a fight, the howling mob still recognized your maneuver, the sacrificial move that it was. Those from the Scarlet Chorus who ran headlong into battle made promises of a reckoning upon their return. Thankfully for you, hardly any of them limped back in one piece. Those few who survived made fevered whisperings their grievances, naming you as a villain to the Scarlet Chorus. Next is the Lost to the Mountains. Intercepted intelligence resulted in a lost disfavored patrol. Or Plunder of Parchment. A dispute over contraband parchment turned violence. Let's do Lost to the Mountains. The disfavored learned of a hidden enemy enclave and sent scouts to locate it. They never returned from their mission. The remaining disfavored soldiers demanded that you send the Scarlet Chorus to retrieve their scouts. But the Scarlet Chorus flatly refused to fall into the same trap. They recommended that the scouts be treated as wartime casualties. You ordered the Scarlet Chorus to send scouts to locate and rescue them. Or you consigned the disfavored scouts to their fate. If the elite of Kairos' army could not return on their own, then there was no sense in wasting the lives of the Scarlet Chorus to find them. The siege went on without the bulk of the disfavored detachment, a troubling absence that left you wondering in spite of your order. Days after you made your ruling, a resounding clang echoed across the expanse between the Vellum Citadel and your camp. A team of scouts sent to investigate recovered a crude iron sculpture shaped in the mockery of graven ash. The materials? The blood-stained armor of your lost soldiers, torn and reshaped with enemy magic. Damn. Food and morale dwindled as the siege party realized the enemy would win this war of attrition. Tunon sent word that Kairos' patience had run thin. The Overlord would cast an edict of fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it, the words of a spell powerful enough to destroy the Vellum Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. Opting to give the enemy no quarter, you proclaimed the Edict of Fire at the first moments of dawn, granting the enemy no warning of the destruction to come. Though the chorus insisted your actions doomed their spies, the disfavored applauded your decision. Let's do that. You read the edict as the new sun rose behind the citadel, casting a long shadow in its wake. You were the last person to see that hall of knowledge the moment before the devastation. The earth shook, and red-orange light glowed in the foundation of the sprawling citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushing from the windows and between loose bricks, melting hostile trenches in the surrounding land. The mages awoke to smoke and fire, for it was already too late. Only a handful of bewildered mages escaped the smoldering collapse of the massive library fortress. Kairos' will be done. The armies of Kairos left the devastation of the Vellum Citadel in silence. From that day forward, the Tears came to know the once noble citadel as the Burning Library. This was an undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life, but a message had been sent. The Overlord will not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. You were the one of the last to depart from the mountains, and as you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters from Kairos' armies, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. You have reached the end of Kairos' conquest. Do you want to continue or erase your progress and start over? Let's continue. We've carved out a pretty interesting history now. So armor can never reduce damage below 1. So we're always going to take some damage.
The year is 431, and Kairos' invasion has shattered all major opposition in the tiers. The younger realms, the bastard tier, the free cities. All who defied Kairos lay broken by battle, or bowed in surrender. The two armies of the Overlord, the Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, now control our lands. But our will is not yet extinguished. Not entirely. In the valley of Vendrian's Well, those of us unwilling to bow to Kairos have banded together in defiance. Violating an oath of surrender from 2 years prior, we have staged a bloody uprising, murdering the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus garrison in a midnight assault. With their main forces spread across the tiers, the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus redeploy to Vendrian's Well to crush the resistance. But months pass with no definitive battle. As disagreement and discord paralyze the Archons, we bide our time and wait for our message of insurrection to spread across the tiers. The Overlord is not amused, and Kairos has one message for the Archons. Crush the Oathbreakers, or die. Kairos backs this threat with an edict, a magical commandment that can slay all in the valley should the order be ignored. The honor of proclaiming this edict fell to you. Sent across the mountains to Vendrian's Well, you carry the Overlord's edict to read before the Archons. As you finally make your way through the winding mountain passes into the valley, the ground trembles, and Kairos' magic seals the way behind you. You are trapped in Vendrian's Well, with Kairos' armies and the Oathbreakers. The only way to survive is to fulfill the terms of the Overlord's edict, in any way that you can.
That is cool. Fatebinder Warlord Mal, I assume. We've been expecting you. If this is your first visit to the world of Tyranny, watch for these windows to help you become familiar with the game. You can disable tutorial messages at any time from the game options menu.